This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.
You find out?
This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.
Welcome back to Extreme eSpeed TV. It is week 24. We have made it all the way to Dover Motorsports for the Autism Awareness Racing for Camon 150. John, welcome to the show. We went 100 laps last week, caution free. Don't think we're going to get that lucky tonight, but fingers crossed. Welcome to the show. Give me some thoughts on tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get that lucky tonight, but it's going to be exciting. This is a challenging track that's going to challenge these drivers each time they go around.
Yeah, we've been watching practice, and the usual suspects at the top of the board, Baker, Redford, and Mefford are at the top of the board. Of course, we have two Meffords now, I'm seeing. We have switched over to qualifying. We're getting ready to do the Light Electric Company qualifying, which will the Linda Haney Memorial Race Pole Award. So that's coming up. We're waiting for those cars to come out on the track. John, who do you got your eye on tonight?
Well, the top two there in points, obviously, we got to keep an eye out. Radford and Littleton up there, they battled it out the whole season. It's, we're down to crunch time. We only got 3 races, including tonight's, to go. And, the slightest mistake here can cost you a championship. So the pressure for those two guys are going to wrap up. But I tell you, there's some guys that want to be a spoiler in here and get another win. Steve Baker is at the top of that list. He's already got a handful of them this year. He'd like to probably add another one. A lot of other guys that have got wins this year, like excuse me, Roy Hyde and a few other guys there, and I'm sure they want to add to it. But there's also a lot of guys that haven't got a win that I bet you they want to put their name on that winners list for the year.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome to Dover. Was stationed at Dover in the early 90s. Dover does not have an airport. So it was kind of cool to be on the air base. That's where all the drivers landed their private jets. So, man, that was kind of cool to drive around. I always remember, and I'm going to age myself a little bit here, the Skull Bandit Lear jet landing on base and getting able to go out and check that out. So you could hear the races from base housing. Man, it's a small town, believe it or not, and super cool place to be, especially on race weekend. Super cool, man.
Yeah, I could imagine so. I know you got the casino there, and I believe, isn't there a college like right across the track from it? I mean, how cool would that be to go to college and be able to go over and check out a race while you're there?
Yeah, we actually got to see the casino and the hotel being built. That was 94-ish. So that was cool that to see that built while we were there. Yeah, pretty cool. Currently on the track, 94 car, Troy Radford is number 1, top of the board, 23.15. Baker second. Mefford, now Littleton breaks up the Mefford party. Littleton pulls up to P4, followed by Travis Smith in that number 9 machine.
Yeah, and that's a good shot for Littleton if he can hold up there along with Radford. That's going to put both those guys that are battling for this right up front. And boy, that's going to only raise the stakes once they drop the green flag. No mistakes, like I said, or it could cost you.
Littleton and Radford, John, they're only 4 points separating the two. So this is going to be crazy. It's going to go right down to the end.
Yeah, it really, really is. And these guys, I haven't seen them make a whole lot of mistakes, but I've seen them get caught in some other people's. In this track, I think is that danger. If something happens here, it happens fast. Think about tracks like Bristol, where if you see the wreck, you're in the wreck. Almost the same thing here. I know this is a mile track, but if you're sitting there going heading into a corner and there's trouble in that corner ahead of you, chances are you're probably going to get involved in it. And so a high risk here race, but man, I can't wait to see what these guys do. Every time I think, okay, this is going to be a sketchy race, or this is going to be one that's going to be challenging, we're probably going to see a lot of cautions. These guys put on a show, and they race smart. So we could see anything here. I'll be honest with you, if we went caution free again, it wouldn't surprise me. If we had 10 cautions, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, we were watching warm-ups. I snuck in a little bit early, and man, again, just like last week, there is some amazing driving. I think out of the whole the half hour that I watched, I only saw two incidents that would have been cautioned. So these guys are legit, man. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They are very respectful on the track. It's cool to watch.
It is, and I've said, boy, it makes me jealous. I'd love to be able to come run with these guys, but I'd run probably last every week, as good as they are. So, but yeah, these guys are really good, and they've been good on every track we've seen them on: short track, big tracks, super speedways. And they never seem to not put on a good show here. And this track, like I said, it's going to be challenging. You got a couple different areas on this track that, coming out of turn 2, the cars kind of want to break loose a little bit. Coming out of turn 4, they want to push a little bit. So you're dealing with two different things on two different ends of the track, even though they look almost the same. And oh, by the way, pit road's kind of a pain in the butt to get onto. So, they've got to be mindful of that and be down to pit speed in a quick hurry.
Yeah, and we're starting off this week just like last with Radford and Baker on that front row. Radford with your pole for tonight with a 23.15. Littleton rolled off 10th last week, and we didn't see him advance through the field, as you mentioned is common. He's starting a little closer to the front tonight, John. He'll roll off P4 on the outside of that second row.
Yeah, and I would be more comfortable being up front because, like I said, for one, this is a self-cleaning track. Cars usually don't stay where they wreck. They either slide down the track or whatever. So if there's something happens in front of you, you can get caught up in it. Well, if you're up front and you only got a couple cars in front of you, that lowers your chance in getting caught up in a bigger wreck. So, yeah, I would be thrilled with being up front here to start this race.
Yeah, and you got a good front two rows for sure. So looking forward to getting this underway. The drivers are currently in a drivers meeting. Again, the 94 car of Troy Radford with your quick time, 23.15. He will get the Linda Haney Memorial Pole Award for tonight in that 94 machine. And we saw Radford and Baker again last week. Once they were at the front, John, they kind of stayed up front all night. So we will see how it plays out. Looking forward to it. 150 laps tonight. So we do have a little while to get around this track. Thank you all for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Again, this is week 24, and we, as John alluded to, we only have a few weeks left. Top two separated by 4 points, which is amazing after 23 weeks. And your points leader, as we mentioned earlier, will roll off P4. Troy Radford gets the pole for tonight in the 94. He'll roll off on the pole. So those two... this is going to be interesting. Baker's been a tough character, John, as you alluded to last week. He finished second last week, if my memory serves me. So We got some quick cars up front, man. This is going to be super fun.
Yeah, we do. And, Baker is really quick anywhere we go. But I mean, you look behind him, though: Chris Mefford, Travis Smith, Brandon Mefford. You just go right down this list: Tate, Bishop, Chris Spencer. I've seen all these guys either win races or lead a lot of laps in them. So, I expect these guys to fire off and try to start clicking laps off. And I'll tell you, 23 seconds laps here for qualifying, but I think race pace is going to be closer to around that 24 second, maybe even 25, once you get the tires kind of worn in a bit. So that still means it won't take a whole lot of time to click off 150 laps. They're going to go by quick. So if you're a little bit further back, we do see a lot of guys that have not qualified, like a Dustin German or a Matt McKeegan. Don't be surprised to see those guys up towards the front, or even a Brian Miskell Jr. Um, that he's won a race. He was our Daytona winner. In fact, I do expect to see those guys probably start to kind of slowly creep up to the front there. And man, I think I would have qualified here, but you know what? These guys know what they're doing, and I've seen them do a lot of things that I wouldn't do, and they get away with it, and that's why they are. That's why I'd be running last in all these races, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we had 6 cars that actually didn't take time. Last week, Kentucky turned into kind of a fuel strategy. We followed along a few cars. We're shutting it down to save some fuel to try to make that in one stop. I don't think we'll see that tonight, John. I think we might get a few cautions that will open up pit road opportunities. But what are you expecting? Are you expecting a pit strategy shootout? What are you expecting from Dover?
Well, I'm expecting a lot of side-by-side racing, and with the speeds that you carry in, especially down into turn one, because believe it or not, there's a drop off when you go into that corner. The track falls away from you in such a manner. You almost, at least for me, I always felt like I almost gained speed going into the corner. And I think that you're going to see some contact tonight. Um, just because of that, even as good as what these guys are. So I think what you'll probably see is more of a normal race, maybe not so much the pit strategy. Um, it, but like I said, I've thought that before, and these guys, end up on a track like this and have like 2 cautions, and all bets are off at that point.
Yeah, I noticed I haven't been on Dover in a long time, but turn 4 also kind of pitches to the outside, or it used to.
Yes.
I don't know if it's still that way. That was a treacherous corner to get off of right before you come underneath the tower there.
Yeah, it does. And what it does is it takes the nose of your car, and your nose of your car wants to go straight out to that wall. And you can get away with running the second lane here. I do think we're going to have multi-groove racing here. But, if you're getting back into the gas too early, that nose coming out of 4, you are absolutely right. We'll just take off and up the track you'll go. And if there's somebody out there, that's going to be big.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the field for tonight. Troy Radford, Steve Baker, my apologies, will start on the front row. Chris Medford, Brian Littleton in row 2, Travis Smith, Brandon Mefford in row number 3, Hunter Tate, Nathan Bishop in row number 4. The 11 car of Chris Spencer starts on the inside of row number 5, 48 car of Jimmy Hetrick to his outside. Dustin Ping and Roy Hyde in row number 6. Damian Patton, Lance Yancey in row number 7. Bobby Hetrick, Matt McMeekin in row number 8. Dustin Germain, Brian Miskell in row number 9. Ray Radford, Matt Kopf in row number 10. And on the tail end will be the 4 car of Mike Massingale. Well, there were some names there that kind of tongue twisted me, but we're getting ready to go 150 laps right here at Dover Motor Speedway. Can't wait, John. The pace car is pulling off of pit road. We're about to get underway.
Yeah, and I think the first couple laps, you're going to see guys that are going to be trying to maybe run that bottom right where you see the concrete and asphalt transition. But as we get laps in these tires, they're going to venture up the track, and that's going to open that track up to be too wide. maybe even some cases 3-wide racing.
Yeah, in practice, man, they were started washing up. Some of them washed up a little bit quick, a little bit high. Turn 4 again was the trouble spot. So once those tires get wore out, man, this thing becomes a bear to try to handle.
Yeah, and the thing is too, as your tires wear, the harder it gets not to wash up, and you've got to start lifting early, turning in a little bit early. You got to do a lot of things behind the wheel to keep up with your tires and the track at this place.
All right, John, here we go. They're coming off of turn number 4. The green flag is out. We are underway. Great start by the 94. 55 fell back momentarily, but he has regained that momentum. We're 2 by 2 by 2 throughout the field. It looks like Baker will go to the lead on lap number 1 in front of the 94 machine. Littleton will settle out in P3. There's the 80 car of Littleton. He's going to battle it out with the 46 of Mefford to his inside. So those two battling it out early. I was expecting single file right away. It looks like we are going to get that way now, John, as Littleton falls in line behind the 46 in P4.
Yeah, and that's these guys' MO. We've seen either we get a quick caution or they go a long way in, and then we get cautions the second half of the race when guys are starting to click. These guys like to, I think, settle in, get some laps under the belt, get the tires up to temperature, and then then go to work. So as I expected, though, everybody towards the bottom, but like you said, in practice, they're going to start walking up the track here eventually.
Looks like the 83 car may have got in a little bit hot. We're watching the 8 of Hunter Tate, 83 of Brandon Medford in front of him. Looks like the 8 car's really trying to stick to that bottom. The 83 car looks like he's diamonding that corner, John.
Yeah, and usually you hear about that on dirt racing. You go in high and try to drive down the hill. Well, you can do that here too. That's one of the options, and that's kind of what makes this place exciting. You can go in and kind of rim ride, or you can hook the bottom, or you can do the diamond. And when we say diamonding, that's going in high and then about mid-corner, turning and driving basically down the banking to come out on the low side coming out of your corner.
Up front, Steve Baker has settled in. He's pulling out a little bit of a lead ahead of Troy Radford, almost 1 second between the two. We saw this song and dance last week. Now Littleton, he's getting a little bit feisty. He wants to get into that top 3. He's going to pull up alongside Chris Mefford. Side by side for P3. The 9 car behind them and Travis Smith. Brandon Mefford is in P6 behind that 9 car.
Yeah, and as a driver, you're well aware of the score. If you're on the outside of that 80 right now, he is in a points leader. We're getting to the end of the season. You don't want to do anything, especially early on, to put him in a bad position or force him to put you in a bad position or him, So you might, I don't want to say let him go, but you're probably not going to race him quite as hard as what you would normally. These guys seem to show enough respect for each other. Right now, Littleton is getting all the room that he needs to operate there on the bottom of the track. Looks like the top, though, you're just able to keep that momentum, keep it wound up. But you didn't see anybody trying to pinch anybody down and hold them down to make that pass, and that's good to see early on.
Yeah, that 80 car, he's blinking a little bit also. I noticed that he did drop back. I have one ear on race control. They also saw the same thing, so that'll be something to watch. That would not be the way to end your night, so hopefully that corrects itself. Going back through the field, the 27 of Nathan Bishop currently running in P8. The 1 car of Jimmy Hetrick is trying to get underneath that 48. So we're 2 by 2 back in 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. Actually, you got six cars that decide to run 2 by 2. Maybe it's that strategy you were talking about earlier, John, where those cars in the back are slowly moving their way toward the front.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that number 50, we got a wreck. No caution, but I was about to say that 51 has made contact with the outside wall a few times coming out of turn 4, and then they got together there, but no caution here, so that's a tough break for those guys. And it looks like Damian Patton in the 51 has a blown motor because he's on pit road smoking, so that may end his night.
Let's take a look, John, while we're mid-race here. Let's see what happened. You had the 51 car below the 30. Those two, it looked like the 51 kind of washes up, makes contact. They are able to keep going. As John said, no caution came out as the 51 heads to pit lane. So no caution. And like you said, that is unfortunate. 55 car now, Baker. He has opened up a almost second gap over second place Troy Radford in that 94 machine.
Yeah, almost a role reversal what we saw last week. We saw Radford grab the lead and kind of walk away from Baker there, but this time other way around, and the 30 car has come to pit road to probably get some repairs on that. But yeah, the 51 I was watching early on in the race, and he was struggling coming out of turn 4. I saw him hit that wall maybe twice in the early going there, so his car was already probably not handling quite to his liking there.
John, give me a tire strategy. Are we having some drivers holding way back, or are we wide open and going for a bunch of pit stops? What do you think the strategy would be?
I think they're watching after their tires and trying not abusing them. This has a look of what these guys, do. Long green flag run. You got to make sure that you're not losing too much ground at the end of these runs. You don't want them to fall off where all of a sudden you're, a half a second a lap slower than the leader. You want to make sure that you are looking after them early on here.
Riding along with the 41, I can see he's got the Navy logo on board. Let's go take a peek.
That's Matt McKeegan.
Shake and Bake Blackhawk Motorsports in-car cameras brought to you this shot from McKeegan. Currently running in P12. He's running a little bit lower. You can see that 48, John, washed up just a little bit. Not sure if that was intentional or his line.
Yeah, I think that's been his line a little bit. He's kind of going up here, but now he's going to give plenty of room. Looks like he's not wanting to take any chances here early, just riding. Okay, you're faster than me right now. We'll come back, and maybe in a few laps I'll get faster than you. But we got a battle towards the front there between the Medfords there for 5th, 6th, and Littleton now.
Littleton still wanting that third position. We've seen the 83 and the 80 battle it out a few times. Looks like Brian Littleton has been able to pull up alongside the 83, has not been able to make the pass yet. So I'm not sure if he's making a run or letting Medford know that he is there. But he falls back in line, back to P4 once again, or P5 now, my apologies. You're not missing much up front. Baker pulling away from the field. Now he has a 1 second gap between himself and the 94. Those two have separated themselves from P3 Chris Medford in the 46 machine. As John alluded to, this is where the action is at. 4th, 5th, 6th. You got quite a few cars that they're single file now, but it wasn't more than a couple laps ago. We were pulling side by side as the 8 dives down low on cue. He's going to try to get alongside the 9 car here and move up one position.
Yeah, and I was watching the Medfords, both of them. They were racing Littleton really, really hard. Well, both those Medford guys, those are Troy Radford's teammates, so they're definitely not inclined to make life too easy for Littleton. They're not trying to dirty him up by any means, but they're sure not going to make it easy for him to get those spots and make it harder for Littleton to close the gap, or excuse me, for Radford to close the gap.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing, John. When I looked at the points tonight, a 4-point difference after 23 weeks of racing. That's, to me, is amazing. It means these guys are very consistent, very solid, and man, it has been a pleasure to call these 2 races. We'll be back next week with you, but man, thank you for welcoming me in the booth. This has been definitely a different experience, and it has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and last week I made mention a couple times as our first time working together, and I forgot we'd worked Hometown Heroes over at CTC together. So, I'm just gonna blame that on COVID on the brain there, forgetting about that. So I apologize for that, but it's our first asphalt. It was our first asphalt race together. How's that?
That works. I took it as such.
Yeah, that's probably what I was thinking, but yeah, this is a cool deal to work with you, Joe. Joe, and we hope Travis is having fun wherever he may be. I think he, from what I've seen on Facebook, he is. And we will see him back for the finale night, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure those folks are ready to get back to work. I know you can be on vacation, but to leave your baby in the hands of someone else is kind of nerve-wracking, I'm certain. They're probably having a cold one right now watching the show. So, fellas, thank you for allowing us to do what we do on your behalf. Greatly appreciated. The 80 car of Littleton. Now, he ran up on the 83 there momentarily, John, and kind of washed him out to the outside there in, what was that, turn number 3 and 4.
Yeah, the 80 now seems like he is a little quicker than those two guys in front of him, but he's going to have to be smart and figure out a way around these guys. And if they keep overdriving, like right there, it looked like the 46 overdrove the corner a little bit. That abuses that right front tire, and they'll fall off more so than the 80 will. I mean, and just like that, we're, 27 laps in, getting ready to work lap 28 now.
We'll look back from the 83. This is the 80 car of Brian Littleton, your current points leader in that 80 Camaro. Everybody minding their P's and Q's as we get around the track. John, I would have wrecked 4 times already, but these guys are handling it like true professionals. What a great league.
Yeah.
I had no idea about the Next Gen Racing League, man, but what a high-quality operation, and the drivers are top-notch.
Yeah, and this track is just so much fun to drive on. This is one of my favorite asphalt tracks to go to. Run tour mods here, run a cup car here, run the Xfinity car here, run a truck here, and even I've run an Indy car here. And man, I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever come to this track and not had a blast driving.
I wouldn't call my experience here a blast by any stretch of the imagination. That turn 4 that we spoke of, it's got me more than once. So, yeah, I love going here in person and watching, and this is probably this is pretty cool. You can see the 30 car running without his hood here.
Yeah, he got into that inside wall earlier with contact from the 51, but yeah, he's back out on track. I think he had to come to the pits to kind of get his car squared away, but I'm sure he's underpowered at this point.
Yeah, and aerodynamics comes into play anywhere, John. How big of a factor is it here at Dover on the 1 mile?
It's a moderate factor. You can get some damage here, and it's not going to kill you like a Daytona or even a big 1.5 miles. But it's also not going to be not a big deal like it would be at like Bristol, where you can knock the fenders off and you're still pretty good to go as long as your steering wheel is pointed in the right direction. So this is a fast track. I mean, you're still running 165, 66 mile an hour going into these corners. That's hauling the mail on a mile track.
The 83 car makes the pass. Brandon Mefford moves up 1 position. He is now in P3, up 3 from his start. The 41 car, we talked about Matt Meekin earlier. He's up 6 positions. He's up to P10. So he is the biggest mover so far. Brian Miskell Jr. in the 33. He's also up 6. So those 2 drivers working their way to the front ever so slowly, hoping to be at the front of that pack by the end of the night.
Yeah, and I don't mean to date you or anything, but one of the unique things about this track, and I don't know if a lot of people realize it, but if you look over ahead there, you'll see a track to the inside, and they raced horses here for a long time. And I know there was a cup race where I think I heard about Waltrip and Petty racing chariots on that track. that had to be pretty unique to see.
Man, so yeah, that track was actually used. What is it? The horses pull those cart deals. I
Yeah,
can't.
the chariots.
Oh, they're called something. Anyways, that was a big deal at times and in
Yep.
Dover. I never went to watch it, but man, that was a pretty big deal. As the 55, your leader is starting to work some lap traffic. The 4 car of Massengill lets the 55 by. So now we're going to get into some lap traffic here. 55 dives down low. 47 lets him go. So lap traffic is going to definitely play a factor tonight. The 55 of Steve Baker got through traffic super well. Radford did also, those cars being very courteous. The 47 and the 4 of Radford and Massengill pulling along, pulling side, let those guys go by. The 83 car of Mefford is the next one to encounter lap traffic. We got 2 Meffords. Are they brothers, John?
I believe so.
We got 2 Meffords running 3 and 4. Littleton in the 80 car. The 8 car, he's going to try to go down low. Hunter Tate looking to look underneath the 80 car. This is going to be tight if he washes up coming out. He will not. He'll be able to hold it down coming off of turn 4. So move the 8 car up to P5. Littleton falling back a little bit as Travis Smith now tries to join that action. He pulls alongside the 80 car.
And Nathan Bishop comes into the picture too in the 27. So, I don't know. Littleton may have eaten those tires up a little bit. He seems to be falling off more so than the other cars around him. But we're 40 laps in. I don't know how long they'll go. They get about 80% of a fuel load. They don't run the full fuel load here to force them to have, a couple of pit stops. So, boy, I don't know how long they'll go here. But, we saw last week. You saw pit strategies all over the place.
Yeah, I found that interesting going on board and watching those guys actually shut the cars off. And it does not get more real than that. Now the 9 car Bishop washing up a little bit.
Yeah, Nathan Bishop just tagged the wall coming out of 4. Oh, I think he's hurt that car quite a bit, actually. It looks like he's almost got – that car does not look centered as it's going down the straightaway.
That's the 27 of Nathan Bishop. He's currently running in P9. He is seems to be getting back on pace. He looked to slow down. Oh, he's washing way up, John.
Yeah, that car has like a slight crab walk to it if you look at it from behind going down the straightaway. His last lap was a 26:02 here, and we'll go up here and see. Let's see what kind of lap time he makes now cleanly. 25:2. Yeah, and the other guys are 24:9, so that cost him a couple of tenths, probably worth the damage.
Looks like he's still getting around the track okay. Matter of fact, you can see that right front sticking out a little bit there where he banged in that fender, John.
Yeah, and I'm sure that car's not handling quite the way he wanted to, but that's all right. He can. He's just going to have to adjust the way he drives, and probably will start to pick up the lap times once he figures out what the car wants now that he's got a little damage to it.
So you say they go to 80% fuel load. What are we looking for laps, John? What do you think?
I don't know. I usually get in here and take some laps with these guys. I didn't get a chance to tonight to kind of try to do a fuel run. But the times in the past when I've done the fuel run, I've seen guys pit early, way earlier than what they needed for fuel, and it's more of a tire stop. So that's what I'm kind of curious to see if that's what we'll see tonight. I mean, we're already almost 2 seconds slower than where they qualified. So if you were to pit early and you're running 2 seconds a lap quicker than everybody else, by the time it cycles through, as long as there's not a caution, boy, you can make up a lot of time that way.
Well, if they come in at lap 50 and then lap 100, it should.
Yep.
That should do it. Can they split it? I don't even know what they get on a full fuel load.
Well, we're working 47. Nobody's hit pit road. So, yeah, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you didn't see them start coming in around 50 and splitting up the races like that. Lap 50, 51 and getting those new tires. But we'll see. Like I said, I've seen it all over the place here. And, again, I kept worrying that I was going to jinx them last week, but these guys didn't let me do that. But I'm going to do it again. Here we are, working lap 48. No cautions here yet. So, what a spectacular job by these drivers.
Yeah, if you're out there, you're watching, you want to be a part of something super special, I personally can recommend NextGen Racing League. Watching their practice beforehand, I know you and I, John, we're used to just jumping in a car and practicing going nuts out on a dirt track. They actually have a very coordinated practice session that I found it was super cool, man. They actually do restarts and make sure that they're prepared for the night. So if you're out there and you want to be a part of a really cool organization, check these guys out, Next Gen Racing League. We did have a little bit of a scrum in the back. Looked like Nathan Bishop in the 40, or the, that's not Nathan Bishop. Who am I looking for? The 47 car of Ray Radford got involved in that. He tried to get down out of the way. It looks like one of your lead lap cars made contact with him.
Yeah, and we got the 77 of Lance Yancey. Looks like he's down and headed to pit road, but and that is lap 50 here. So, but yeah, if you catch somebody that's off the pace, or you catch them in a hurry here, and you can look up in your mirror and go, okay, I've got a half a straightaway lead, and you get through your next set of corners and boom, they're right on you. I mean, it happens that fast here.
Baker still at the front of the field in the 55.
Yeah, Bishop's coming in. The 11 is coming in. So we are starting to see them start to cycle through here.
Pit road is going to be a busy place. We'll take a look down pit road. If I can find the right camera. We don't have a good shot, John. We'll take how about we'll take a ride in the blimp?
I got about 4 or 5 cars on pit road right now. Our 2 leaders. Radford's been slowly reeling in Baker up front here. It's going to be a question now, just who blinks first and heads to pit road. My guess is I think when you see one, you're probably going to see the next one going probably, again, pretty quick after that. At that 2 seconds different a lap, you really can't afford to stay out there and lose that kind of ground.
There's a 6.5 second gap between the 55 of Steve Baker, who's leading the race, and Brandon Mefford in the 83 machine. You got over 6.5 seconds there. Now it's up to 7.
I see Roy Hyde coming in now.
Your leaders, as you said, they haven't blinked. We are working lap 55 of 150. These two out on the track, they are putting more distance between themselves and those behind them. There's a half-second gap that separates the 55 of Baker and the 94 of Radford. Littleton, he has not come in yet either, John.
Baker got the wall there coming out of 4. Sorry to interrupt you. I was just watching him. Baker tagged the wall coming out of 4.
I would suspect pit stops real soon in that case.
Looks like he's going to go around again here. Boy, he is struggling. The 94 is closed right up on him. I'm watching that back end just dance around on that 55 car.
Way off the throttle, and it still washes up a little bit as he puts the wheel to it. Oh, gets loose off of turn 2.
Yeah, he's been like that. Loose going in, loose coming off. He's wheeling that car right now, but I bet you he's can't wait to come in and get the pits. And
there he goes again. He's got a handful in that 55. The 94 of Troy Radford has closed right up to his rear bumper now.
And Radford's done a really good job at not getting into the back of him and turning him, but now Radford's going to take a look to the inside here. Radford's probably seen enough and thought, hey, you know what? If you get out of shape, I don't want to wreck with you.
Yeah, and the second part of that, though, do you want to dive underneath the 55 if he gets loose and collects you? So that's a kind of an interesting position to be in. As the 94, he looks like he backed off a little bit, John.
Yeah, it looks like he might have done that a little bit here, and boy, these guys are still clicking off laps here.
So Baker, Radford, and Mefford, the 83 Mefford, have not ducked into pit road. The difference in pit speeds of fresh tires and used tires probably will come into play. And they're going to go around another lap. John, we're working lap 60.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, though, at some point, yeah, they're going to lose a lot of this ground, but now they're going to have significantly fresh rubber where these guys have fallen a second off. These guys are going to be, you know, a second quicker for a lot longer. So this is where you're going to see it yo-yo around here a little bit, I think.
We got a battle in the back with Chris Mefford in the 46 and the 9 of Travis Smith. Boy, it looks like the 80 car did not give any room to that 83, kind of put the chrome horn to him. Up front, Baker and Radford still holding down the lead. They have not made a move towards pit road. I heard that the 83 is coming in, and he is.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. If these guys, if a caution came out, 2/3 of the field are a lap down.
So
here comes the leader.
The 55 ducks in. The 94 of Radford stays out on the track. So let's see. The 11 car is on fresh tires just coming off of pit road. So you're going to see a huge difference in speed here as the 11 car of Chris Spencer dives underneath the 94-year leader, Troy Radford. So Radford is on lap 6. Here he comes. Yeah, he's coming in this time by. Travis Smith, we just heard on the radio that the 9 car is looking for pit road as he dives down, gets down to pit road speed. That will leave the lead to Dustin Ping in that 1 machine. He's kind of getting down on the inside, letting everybody go on that outside, and he's coming in.
He's coming in. He got down on that apron way later than the other guys did, so he's probably going to make up a lot of time for his pit stop then.
So coming out of the pit, the 55 of Baker is in front of the 11 of Chris Spencer. Have to see what that time difference is at the line, John. If it's the 94 is showing out, Baker in the lead.
Yeah, Baker just passed the 94, and so did the 11. So, boy, I tell you, Baker really made up some time there. He's, instead of having Radford right on his bumper, now he's got about almost a whole corner ahead of him now.
And Chris Spencer, he did real well on his pit stop. Don't know what his strategy is, but he moved up to P2. He's breaking up the Baker-Radford party at the front in that 11 machine. The 55 up front sets sail.
Yeah, there's been times Chris Spencer has just been dominant. We've seen him be that way. I think it was Richmond where he was just lights out fast the entire time. So Spencer's a guy that if he's got a car and he likes the track, look out. He'll do some damage.
Yeah, he must have done a different pit strategy, John. The closest car to your top 2 was over 7 seconds down. Coming out of the pits, the 11 car shuffles to P2.
Well, those leaders, like I said, they stayed out, 4 or 5 laps further than some of these guys. And if you're giving up 2 seconds a lap, that's almost 10 seconds of, if you 5 laps, that's 10 seconds. That's that's almost half a lap that you make up. But now you see the 94 doesn't look like he's going to have too much trouble passing the 11 because the 94 has probably got 10, 15 lap newer tires than what the 11 does. But this may have paid off for Chris there in that number 11 because now he's right here with the leaders. He just needs to stay in touch with them now through this run.
Baker, Radford, Spencer, Tate, Yancey are your top 5. Yancey in that 77 machine, moving up 9 positions from the start.
Just to update everybody on a couple of retirements, Damian Patton, who we saw have that incident there on the inside pit wall early on, he is packed her up and is going to be headed home, and so is Dustin German. He's also taking it to the garage and on his way home for the evening.
So if Radford and Littleton stay where they are, Troy Radford currently in P2, Littleton down in P6. I would suspect that they swap places in the point standing with only a 4-point difference. As we see Littleton get by the 77 car of Yancey as he works his way back to the front, currently in P5 for your points leader.
Yeah, and if he jumps them, the last 2 races are in New Hampshire next week, which is also a fairly difficult track, you know, the flat mile up there. That track can be difficult to pass on, so not an easy track. And then, of course, Homestead, where that track is a blast, too. You race all over that track.
We are at 73 laps. Steve Baker still at the point with Radford in P2 in that 94 machine. Tate, Spencer, Littleton round out your top 5. We are coming towards the halfway mark of the race.
Caution free, no less.
You keep saying it. You keep jinxing us.
Well, I've got confidence in these guys. I thought I was jinxing them last week, but these son of a guns drove the whole thing there caution free, and we've seen them do it a few tracks. And you know, I touched on this. These guys, you know, tracks that I've thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna probably have some issues. And I think we even heard it in post-race interviews. These guys were thinking, yeah, next week probably isn't going to be as clean, but here we are. You know, I hate to sound like a broken record and keep going back to it, but the talent level and the way these guys race each other, you know, and allowing each other room, you know, early on and things like that, just creates this. I mean, it's got to be a blast to be out there and be able to get all these green flag runs in, because you and I both have been in races that were, it really isn't any fun when you're behind the pace car for half the race, and these guys get to race.
Yeah, they do. And everybody, we just went through the field, John, everybody single file at the moment. And we always preach patience until the end. It looks like that's practiced here for sure. As sure as I say that, Travis Smith in that 9 car dives underneath the 77 of Yancey, is able to make a clean pass. Everybody is just single file, biding their time. We are over the halfway point. Baker at the front still. Now Radford is closing in on that 55, John.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, there's only 1 lap difference between the tires, but Radford was kind of reeling them in during that last run, too. And now he's gotten to them a lot quicker than what he did the last one here. So, you know, here we are, second half of the race. Radford is putting it together again, and looks like he's going to be possibly the car to beat here, because he's definitely quicker than the 55 is right now. But there is a lot of lap traffic actually out in front of him here.
As he pulls alongside the 55 for the pass, for the lead, the 94 car, Troy Radford is going to try to make the pass before they get in traffic. That may be a strategy.
The 55 might use his 30 as a pick.
And he will. Nowhere for the 94 to go. The 30 can't get out of the way.
But the 55 clobbered the wall again. Boy, he's only going to be able to do that another time or two before that's going to start affecting the way that car handles and runs.
Yeah, we saw that right fender dinged up on that last camera shot. See if we can take a good picture of that and see if we still see that damage. Yeah, you see that right front tire. It looks like right behind the tire, that side is caved in a little bit. So, man, he's using up that right front of the car.
Yeah, and this is not a track you want to do that, because you really want this car to turn and cut through the corner. as they work their way around Roy Hyde in that awesome vintage fighter jet bomber paint scheme. That is just still, I think, of all the paint schemes, I've been in iRacing for 10 years. That is probably my all-time best favorite paint scheme.
And what would I be as a veteran if I didn't take a good long look at the 00 of Roy Hyde? That's a beautiful wrap that he has.
And the thing that's my favorite is on the side of the door, you know, where they used to, the old pilots used to put, you know, their kills and whatnot on their wing. He's got Ford, Chevy, you know, the cars he's gotten around, and that's just awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Meanwhile, up front, the 94 got behind the 30 car up front, got picked a little bit. 55 was able to get by.
Yeah, they're working through traffic here, and both these guys are being pretty patient. You know, and Baker's doing a really good job of getting around guys and getting the 94 kind of stuck behind it. But I think the 94's kind of got wiser to that and thought, okay, hey, we've still got a long way to go. I'm going to follow you up through these cars, and once we get clear of it, they're probably going to start racing again.
Littleton has moved back to 6th, so the 9 car was able to get by. Yeah, crazy story about the bombs on the side of the 00 car, John. During Desert Shield and Storm, I was stationed in a little island out in the Indian Ocean with B-52 bombers, and that was kind of a ceremony when they came back, and everyone would gather around as they put that bombing run on the side of the B-52. So, man, super cool.
Very cool story.
Yeah, people gather around, and it's a big deal, man. So hearing you say that brought back some memories, and that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that he was creative about it, and you know, and put, you know, the Ford stickers and the other makes, that cracked me up. And we got a battle for the lead now.
Yes, we do, side by side. The 94 battling it out with the 55 of Baker up front. He decides to slide back, pulls up to that rear bumper. Let's go on board and see what it looks like, John, from the cockpit. 55 dives down low.
And from this angle too, when you look out, you know, off the bumper like that, you can see how much banking, and you know, where you turn in into where the apex of the corner, you know, there's a significant elevation change between the two.
We are on board with the 94. He's pulling up alongside the 55. Can't quite make a run at it, so letting him know he's there from time to time. But he does not push the issue just yet, working lap 89 of 150.
Yeah, and I know inside their rigs or at their desks or wherever, it's not like their World War counterparts where it's 140, 150 degrees inside the car. But a long green flag run like this, I can assure you, fatigue probably does set in, because you've got to pay such attention to hitting your marks. You don't get to feel the G-forces to know when the car, everything you're doing is visual. So you've got to stay so sharp, and one little bobble can put you into the wall, especially like we've been saying all night, coming out of 4.
Yeah, I will tell you, the older I get, that is real. As you know, on our Monday nights, if you do well in the previous race, you can advance. And a couple Mondays ago, I got asked if I was going to advance. I got to tell you, with a SemiQ Pro direct drive wheel, my arms were done. I am a one and done. So there is absolutely some fatigue that comes into play here.
Yeah, I got a direct drive myself, except for I did the sim experience. I got an AccuForce, and when I switched from that, when I went to that from having just a regular wheel, oh my gosh, yeah, my arms were tired. And even running just a normal 30-lap sprint race, we've done a few of them caution-free, and yeah, I've gotten at the end of those and my tongue's hanging out thinking, yeah, I'm old.
When I get out of the rig, my wife, what is wrong with you? Well, I just raced. Then it's online.
Yep. Yeah, I've gotten out, and my wife is, go get in the shower. Don't touch anything. Don't sit down anywhere. Go get in the shower.
Kind of took us on a detour there, John. My apologies. Hunter Tate is up to P3 in the 8 machine, up 4 from his start. Your biggest mover so far is Mescal in that number 33 machine. He's up 8 from the start, currently moved into the top 10. We'll take a look at the 80 as Littleton is starting to fall back once again, John. We saw him fall off at the end of a long run last time. Looks like the 83 car of Brandon Mefford was able to get by him to move the 80 car back to P7.
Yeah, and that's just straight up tire management. You know, some guys are, you know, we on dirt we always talk about who's good at throttle control, and that makes the difference. Well, here on the asphalt side of things, it's tire management. Guys that abuse their tires early in a run, or maybe use them just a little bit too hard, man, you know, they pay for it at the end. I ran a asphalt race last night, and I felt like I was taking it easy, and we got a battle for the lead. But you know what? I pushed the right front tire off that car, and the last 35 laps of that race was just a nightmare. And I thought I was taking it easy. So easy to do and easy to abuse as we're side by side now. Radford and Baker are going into one here.
We are on board with the 94. It will be Radford at the moment. He will get by this time. 55 falls in line. John, as we are watching your points leader, Littleton, he's currently in P7. Chris Spencer in the 11, who we saw come out of pit road in second position, is all the way back in P8.
Yeah, so his tires are going to fall off a little bit earlier than the other guys. So, at the end of the day, he'll have to see if it was a net loss for him. And then maybe this round of pit stops, because I do believe they'll have to pit one more time. Maybe the next time they'll run a little bit longer on those tires.
Yeah, and if they use the 50-100 strategy, we're about to have some cars hit pit road here within the next lap or two.
Yeah, and when I've run these races, after I get out of the pits, I'll initially start that and think, okay, the 50-100, that's usually the strategy that I employ. But if I get done with my pit stop and then I find out my tire wear, I have 80, percent left on my tires, or 75%. Well, you know what? I could have probably ran an extra 10 laps, and so that could change. But I do see a car heading into pit road right now as we speak.
Looks like Lance Yancey is the first one to duck, the 77 car to duck down to pit road. He was currently in 12th position.
He was one of the first last times around too, and looks like he's going to stay right with that strategy, that 50-100 lap.
Looks like your leaders have one car between them. You got Radford and Baker. The 48 car of Jimmy Hetrick was between them there momentarily. And John, how long ago did the 94 pit? How many laps ago? Do you have that information?
I think he pitted around lap 60, I don't want to say 62, 63. So he got a ways to go yet.
So they're running less time you can spend on pit road, the better. Better chance for a caution to come out and trap everyone a lap down, as you spoke about earlier.
Yeah, Nathan Bishop's in. But yeah, when they pit, if there was a caution, let's say it would have come out a lap before Baker pitted, they would have had 2/3 of the field trapped a lap down. And a lot of guys, they'd have been trapped 2 laps down, which would have made it, really, really difficult to ever get back on the lead lap.
And Nathan Bishop is in, as you alluded to, John. So we have some cars heading to pit road here on lap 104 of 150. Nathan Bishop being the last. I'm hearing on the headset there are a few other cars there's the 27 as he ducks down to pit road. That is Nathan Bishop. Oh, he's coming back out. My apologies. Mike Massengel is the next car to dive down towards pit road.
Yeah, and just an update up front, 94 of Troy Radford now has put some distance now on the 55, so he is definitely the strongest car of the field right now, and the 55 is just watching him drive away at this point.
He's about to lap the 10th place car. Meekin in the 41 machine, in that Navy machine. The 94 car has 10th and below, 1 lap down currently. Baker, as you said, fell off the pace. We heard on the radio a little bit that those scrapes against the wall, as you talked about, may be affecting that car here late race, John.
Yes, it might be. I think you might be right on that. And, you know, I'm thinking if we went through here and polled the drivers on who's ready for a caution, I bet you'd be pretty unanimous. A lot of these guys, I mean, when you're running top 10 and you're getting lapped because you haven't had a caution, boy, that to me that'd be a little frustrating because if I was in the top 10, I'd be thrilled. But then you watch the leader motor on by. That's not a position you want to be in, being trapped the lap down.
You can see the 94. That yellow and white car is your leader. The 55 is P2. We are working lap 108 of 150. The 30 car continues to battle around without the hood there.
I tell you, I mentioned earlier, I've been part of iRacing for about 10 years now, and the damage model has changed so dramatically. I remember when we hardly had any, and now it's incredible what they've done, and some of the stuff that they've rolled out in the last 10 years, and I can't imagine what the next 2 to 3 are going to look like.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I was at a dirt race last night, and I find myself, yes, it is as close as you can get to the real thing. It's not the real thing. I get it, but I find myself watching how people enter and exit the corners, and I spend time concentrating on the track and how it wears when I'm just supposed to be there for enjoyment, but it does change. Your leader is on pit road.
Yeah, and this time the 94's in earlier than the 55.
A 55 stays out.
Hunter Tate's in, Chris Spencer's in. I'll be really surprised if that 55 doesn't duck in here.
You would think he would almost have to, especially with that damage on the right front.
Nope, he's going to go another one.
Maybe he's hoping a caution comes out.
Yeah, maybe so. But, I mean, if he's trying to double it up here, maybe he's hoping that he can have a little fresher tires longer into the run than the 94.
So Steve Baker moves to the lead. The 46 car of Chris Mefford is in P2. Travis Smith in the 9 machine moved up to P3. All these cars have yet to make their pit road entrance for the second time tonight. Your points leader, Brian Littleton, moves up to P4. Brian Miskell Jr. in that 33 machine is up 13 places from his start. We saw the 83 coming back on track there, John. Matt McMeekin in the 41 machine is up 10 places from his start. So we will wait for it. Looks like Littleton now is on pit road in the 80 machine. So your points leader now comes on pit road on lap 113 of 150. The 55 car, I heard somebody get into the wall. I don't see it.
There was a car smoking on pit road. It looked like the 47 had smoke billowing out of it. May have been him.
Baker still out on the track. He's got to be hoping for a caution.
Yeah, well, he pitted it, like I said, I think it was like around lap 62, 63, somewhere in there. So if he goes the same amount of laps, that would put it around 125, 126. So maybe he's just going to stay true to his strategy. But I'll tell you, he's now, when he comes out, he's going to be quite a ways behind the 94, but he's going to be quicker from the get-go, and he's going to be quicker longer.
Matt McMeekin in the 41 is the last car on the lead lap. 108, my apologies. That's not. Yeah, that is true. So the 41 car is the last car. We only have 4 cars that are on that lead lap from what I'm seeing. 5 cars.
Yeah, and McMeekin is right in front of Baker, too. So, I mean, he is essentially a lap down.
Steve Baker holding on. Lap 117 of 150. Let's take a look at where the 94 came out in P7. 1 lap down to your leader. as he works back towards the front. Jimmy Hetrick a little bit above the 94 machine. Your points leader Littleton is out on track currently. Here the 41 is coming in. Looks like the 80 makes contact with the 22. And that sent Matt Kopp down to the inside. Different pit strategy. Oh, he gets into the wall again, John. The 55
Yeah, he sure did.
pounds the wall off of 4.
He got it with the back end now, so now he's got yeah, like I said, I didn't think he's going to be able to get away with that too many more times. I'd be interested to know what that car's feeling like now.
Well, let's take a look. Super loose coming off the bottom. He is wearing out that right side of the car.
He is, and remember though, late in the last run there, he was dancing around too, getting sideways out a lot of the corners. So I mean, I don't see him doing anything too totally different than what he did the last time that he had his tires worn down.
Whoa, big slide.
Get that guy a dirt car.
Yeah, it was a big slide off of turn 4, I believe it was. The 83 car now closing up, trying to get his lap back. Brandon Mefford is going to try to dive down low, get underneath the 55. I don't think the 55 needs to be any closer than the wall than what he has been. So that will be interesting to see also as he gets pushed up off that bottom groove.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to take extra care. He's too smart not to keep pushing that issue quite that way. Here he comes.
Somebody pitting. That is the 55. Boy, he woed up real hard. Got a little bit sideways there. Tries to get down to pit road speed. 55 Steve Baker on pit road, which will give the lead over the 9 car who's coming in. Brian Mescal Jr. will inherit the lead in that 33 machine.
94 is now going down the back stretch, so he's definitely going to get around before the 55 is back on the track, and he's going to be considerably further ahead now than what he was. But now the 55 is going to have about 20 laps newer. In fact, he just passed him, and the 55 is still sitting in his pits, but that 55 is going to have about 20 lap newer tires than the 94.
Yeah, they got to be working on that car, John, I would think, after all that contact. So that might be an extended stay in pit lane. There he goes. He's coming off the bottom. He's going to go a lap down.
Yeah, but he'll unlap himself, I'll bet, pretty quick here. But Mefford in the 83 got around him, and he's been in front of Mefford almost the whole time.
Troy Radford in the 94, fresh off of pit road. You can see the 30 coming off of pit road. Trying to see when the 33 pitted last.
I think he's been out there for a long time, the way these guys are catching him.
There's the 83 going by, the 55 in tow behind the 83.
Yeah, and that battle with the 83 and 55 is a battle for position here. After they cycle through, that should be a battle for second.
Mescal still in the lead in the 33 machine, has not hit pit road yet. Troy Radford in the 94 in P2. He's currently 6 seconds down, and that number is quickly shrinking.
Yeah, and he is almost probably just a little more than half a track ahead of the 55. Whereas right before they pitted, he was about a whole, like turns 1 and 2. It would have been about where Baker was in 1 and he was exiting 2. So he stretched that lead out, but Baker is turning a little quicker laps but now Baker's really, He's tapping that wall a lot. I don't think that car is handling quite the way that he wants it to.
John, I think he actually got that machine repaired. No, he didn't. That front end is still dinged up, so they didn't get that fender beat out.
Yeah, I don't know that they have fast repairs in this league. I don't think they do. Which actually, that's why you see the racing the way you do, because it makes guys take care of their stuff. They just can't go back to the pits and hit reset.
33 on pit road. That will give the lead back over to Troy Radford in the 94 machine. And Hunter Tate will take over P2 in the 8. There's a 5, almost 6 second gap between those two. We got 21 laps to go. So we heard all the drivers, all 3 on the podium last week. John called Dover a wild card, and they have absolutely tamed this beast this week.
Yeah, the Miles the Monster is going to go home disappointed, I'll tell you.
And that's something else that you got to see. Drive by Dover Speedway from the highway there, and you can see him right outside of the Speedway with a full-size NASCAR in his hand. That's kind of interesting to see.
I haven't seen that, but I can imagine. I always like going by Air Force bases or whatever, and they've got, you know, the fighter jets, and the old fighter jets, like the World War II, you know, F-4s and those things, and parked out front there, you know, usually mounted onto something is always really cool.
Yeah, their static displays are all over for sure. That is quite the deal. I got to tell you, from the inside, who paints them, who takes care of them, and those are actually still maintained usually by the active duty maintenance folks.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we had an air show here in St. Louis a couple years ago, and I almost paid for a ride in a B29, and I kind of regret it. I wish I kind of would have, but it would have been really neat to fly in one of those flying fortresses, but hopefully maybe somewhere down the line I could check that off my bucket list.
Oh, yeah, I tell you, that would be something. I got to tell you, the highlight of my life was a 4-hour roller coaster ride in an F-16. There is nothing in this world that will compare. So if you ever get the chance, man, going up even in a B-29 would be amazing. Flying piece of history. 94 car of Troy Radford up front. The 8 of Hunter Tate in P2. He is currently 6.5 seconds behind. Steve Baker now, he's trying to close up the gap in that 55. Still has that damaged right front. We have 16 laps to go. Brandon Mefford in the 83 machine. It looks like Brian Littleton kind of stalled out back there. He rolled off P4, if my memory serves me. He's kind of stalled out in P7, John. We saw that last week.
Yeah, these long runs just seem to kind of not play to his hand there a little bit. You know, tire wear and everything else maybe on these tracks just don't suit his driving style as well as the others, because usually we see him run about that same area, but then once the pay window open, next thing you know, he's running top 5. And you know, this track here is a different beast than anything else that you run on.
Nathan Bishop in P11. Mescal Jr. in that 33 car is in P12. The 13 of Jimmy Hetrick is the final car on the lead lap.
Yeah, and Roy Hyde has had major contact with the wall. He's down on the inside, and that car looks broke. But the second and third place car now, Hunter Tate took it over after the 55 of Baker ran long, but Baker is closing on him rapidly. But with 12 to go, getting there and passing him may be two different things here.
I definitely think he will get there, John. Like you said, passing may be a different story. Depends on that 55 has fresher tires, though, also. He came in late.
Yeah, and he's actually closing on the leader, too, dramatically, but he's just going to run out of time here unless there's a late caution with, maybe, 5:10 to go. There's no way that I think he catches the 94 without the 94 having some kind of problem. But yeah, I think he is going to catch this number 8 here. And the fast as he's catching him, I do believe that he is going to catch him and pass him.
Troy Radford still at the front of the field, got over a second gap between himself and the 8 car of Hunter Tate. As the aforementioned 55 car is closing in on that P2 machine, trying to move up one spot on the podium. 10 laps to go. They do have lap traffic in front of him. Looks like he closes way in at the entrance there.
Yeah, the 8 has to pedal coming out of the corner not to wash up and tag that wall, where the 55 has got that grip and is just able to get back in the throttle way earlier. And he's making all his time up from the center of the corner on through the exit.
Put the 55 back up to P2, John. He's going to try to track down the 94. There is a 7-second gap, so he's going to have to close at a rate. He is closing in, but I don't think he has almost a second per lap on that 94 machine, but he's going to give it a go.
Yeah, he is, and I think he'll probably be within sight of him, but I don't know that he's going to catch him. And when I say in sight, I think maybe, a straightaway, because the 94 is pretty far out there, and the 94 can even be conserving his tires with the big of a lead as he's got.
Trying to look at the ticker here. It was 6.5 seconds between Radford and Baker. Hunter Tate in the 8 car is up to P3. So we saw the 55 make it by the 8 car. 55 and the 94 having a couple of great weeks back to back. It looks like these gentlemen are, they know how to handle their equipment before the long run, as they've had, again, 2 great weeks.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the first run, I would thought, okay, I can run pretty hard because we're probably going to get some cautions here, and I would have pushed all my stuff off, and never in a million years would I have thought we would have gone 145 laps caution-free.
Yeah, so I'm just going to call it. I'm good luck. It must be me. I'll take.
Gotta be.
It must be me that I'm in the booth and not on the track, because if I was on the track, we would have had a few cautions.
I was going to say, if it goes caution-free next week, when Travis comes back, I guess you're his sidekick. I'll watch from home.
4 to go. Troy Radford leading the way in that 94 machine. That lead is down to under 6 seconds now. In the 55, Baker in P2. The 8 car of Hunter Tate is up to P3. Chris Mefford in the 46 up to P4. Brandon Mefford in the 83 is up to P5, followed by the 9 car of Travis Smith. Chris Spencer is in P7. Brian Littleton, your points leader, is back in P8. Lance Yancey in that 77 car is currently in P9. And Brian Miskell Jr. in the 33 is the final car in your top 10 as we prepare for 3 to go. John, I think it's going to, the lead has kind of solidified. It's closing now ever so slightly. The 55 was taking chunks there for a while. But as you alluded to, maybe the 94 was just running a safe line, saving his tires, because that lead has stopped shrinking so rapidly.
Well, yeah, and the 55 now has tire wear, so he's slowing down too. So that comes in. But I see that white flag in the air. We got 1 to go.
1 to go. Radford, Baker, Tate are your top 3 looking for a podium tonight. I don't think there is going to be any drama up front, but I could jinx myself as the 94 comes out of turn number 4. And he will take the win. Radford, Baker, Tate, Mefford in P4, Brandon Mefford in P5, Travis Smith in 6, Chris Spencer in P7. Your points leader, Brian Littleton in P8, Lance Yancey in P9, Miskell, he moves up to P10. So another caution-free night, absolutely amazing. We will get a word with these drivers here momentarily. John, once they get in the booth, if you want to take 3 and 1, I'll take Steve Baker and get a word with the 55 machine once they get up in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, well, I can't believe second week in a row now, caution free. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but man, these guys, just unbelievable the talent that these guys have and able to do this. And a credit to Steve Baker, Jags, who does all the scoring for these guys, does race control. Just a first class outfit, and their on track product is second to none, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could not be more impressed coming over as just an outsider, but I got to tell you, I could not be more impressed with what I've seen from this organization, man. It's fun to be a part of.
Absolutely. Well, I see our third place finisher has gotten up here, so we'll go to him first here and bring in Hunter Tate.
Blake.
Hunter, this is John up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, bud, I tell you, pit strategy almost got you a second place there, but good run on the podium. Did you ever think in a million years you guys would go caution free at Dover?
We only had like 20 cars out on the track tonight, so I definitely thought it was a possibility, but it definitely wasn't what I was expecting. But it was nice. I love the long green flag runs, especially at Dover. Such a fun track.
How hard was it to keep the tires under you for those runs there? Were their tire fall off quick in them, or could you kind of make them last for a little bit before they started falling off?
For me, I felt pretty good. I ran the bottom and diamonded the corners, and it seemed like a lot of guys were running up high, and then I could kind of hang with those kind of guys. And then near the end of the run, I'd start to catch them. So I think that I was definitely able to save tires with the line I was running for sure.
Well, you get a solid podium here tonight. We got 2 races left in the season, New Hampshire and Homestead. What are your thoughts for the couple of remaining races we have coming up here?
I like New Hampshire. I had a pretty good run there last year. I like that track. I like the flatter short tracks. Homestead, not as much. I usually burn the tires off there, so we'll see. It should be fun though.
Well, congratulations again on a great third place finish. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Definitely want to give a shout out to TB Racing. The boys back at the shop built me a fast one tonight. Factory setups and NB Graphical Solutions. My guy Nathan. If you need any paint jobs, screenshots, anything like that, hit him up. And also want to thank my mom. I think she's watching tonight.
Well, awesome. Well, congratulations again, Hunter, on a great third place finish. We'll see you next week at New Hampshire. That's Hunter Tate, driver of the number 8, finishes third here tonight at Dover. Now on to our second place finisher. Joe, I think you've caught up with Steve Baker.
Steve, this is Joe. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Man, another great run in that 55 machine. So you backed up last week's run. John and I were talking on air. What was your pit strategy? We noticed that you and Troy both went a little long on that first run. What was your pit strategy tonight?
Yeah, Troy and I just built up a pretty decent gap to third, so I felt like staying out and making the most of the tires towards the end of the race was the best call. Unfortunately, we smacked the wall there right before the pit stop, so that kind of threw it away a little bit. But we're able to rebound due to some strategy later in the race. But overall, a good race, and glad to see another one go 100% green.
Yeah, man. So we were looking at the front of that 55, the right front kind of banged in. Did you notice a difference in the handling? Looks like you got in the wall ever so slightly a few times, actually, but that right front was a little bit dinged up. Did the car start handling differently at that point?
Yeah, so just the exit speed was off, especially on the older tires. Being on new tires kind of masked it a little bit, so it wasn't too bad on a fresh set. But once the tires wore off a little bit, it just pushed really bad on exit and killed the straightaway speed. So you can't make friends with the wall here and win it. So hats off to Troy for the mistake-free race, and we'll be fine with a second place with the damage.
Yeah, we only have 2 weeks left to go. You are currently at the beginning of tonight up to P4. So these finishes over the last couple weeks, man, I think you are going to move up the board. We'll have to see how that plays out. I got to tell you, as a newcomer to the asphalt side of things, You guys have put on a heck of a show, man. It is a super blast to watch you guys do what you do. And maybe I'm just fortunate enough to catch 2 caution frees, but I got to tell you, man, it's absolutely amazing. So congratulations on your second podium since I've been in the booth. Who do you want to thank for your podium finish?
Yeah, as always, thank the teammates, Dirty Air. Thank every guy that comes out, all the drivers, for putting on the shows you guys see. Like you said, it's a hell of a group who puts on good, clean races, and I think it's put on great shows. 24. I think we're on week 24, so yeah, with 2 left, and hope to close it out with 2 more good races at New Hampshire and Homestead. Thanks as always to you guys for the broadcast, Jess and Jags for all the help that they do, and yeah, look to close off the season strong.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for next week. That will be my last night in the booth, so I'm expecting a lot of the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the 55 of Steve Baker. He puts the 55 back on the podium here at Dover. Steve, hopefully see you next week.
Yeah, would love to. Thanks, guys.
Next up in the booth, John, I think we're going to grab the winner, Troy Radford.
We have him. Troy, this is John. You got a copy?
I did. Didn't I talk to you guys last week too?
Yeah, I feel like we're same bat time, same bat channel. Just a week later, man. Another great victory. I tell you what, you got the floor. Tell me how you got it done.
I mean, honestly, I laugh about it. Sit there, run top 5 all year and struggle to get wins, and then it just end up back to back. Just putting yourself in good position. Steve and me had just a heck of a battle there for the first part of that race before we split strategies. But I just basically tried to put pressure on him without wearing my tires and hope that he made a mistake, because that's pretty much, if you get the top couple of guys here, it comes down to who smacks the wall first, and you lose that arrow and it kills you in the straightaway, and then then you over rotate trying to make up for it. And so that was really what I was just waiting on, just trying to put enough pressure on Steve to to get him to make a mistake, which he doesn't make mistakes often. So I was very fortunate to get him to do that and then be able to take advantage of it.
Well, back to back, that does give you your last week was your second win. Of course, this one now is your third one of the season. We got 2 left to go here, and I believe this will put you in the points lead now. Will this change your thought process next week? Are you a little more careful not to make a mistake, or hey, this is just another week and I'm going to do what I do?
It's kind of the same thing. New Hampshire, is traditionally a pretty decent track for me. Homestead is usually pretty decent, but it's just staying out of trouble. I mean, you're not going to beat Brian by sitting there running 5th to 10th. Like, you've got to go up there and try for those wins, but you've also got to stay out of trouble, because I ran into that 3 race period where it's just freaking 25th every single week, and that's where my points lead went. So had 15 16 points. I'm looking to charge up, and then lost it all from 3 terrible races in a row. So staying away from you got to watch out for just certain things on the track, and trying to stay be smart with how you're doing things.
Well, you said that those are decent tracks for you. Do you prefer one over the other?
I definitely have a little more luck over at Homestead. I've won quite a few races in Homestead, but that's also the track that those guys are going to be really strong at too. So it's pretty much, to me, it's going to be staying clean at New Hampshire. Get a good solid race at New Hampshire. Don't have anything stupid happen, and then then you can really get to Homestead. And Homestead's that track where you can go side by side with somebody and be 3 car widths apart and not have an issue. But New Hampshire's not that way. New Hampshire drives a lot like a short track, so easy for stuff to happen.
Absolutely. Well, man, I tell you, congratulations going back to back. Joe Halter's in the booth with me. It's not usually Travis, but Joe, since he's been here, you've 2 for 2. I might have to tell Travis that you don't want him coming back. Put Joe in here until the streak's over. What do you think?
Hey, $20 for you to be back next week, Joe.
Well, good news. He will be back next
I'll
week.
take your money. I'll take your cash. I am on the schedule for next week. I'm going to miss the finale.
Oh, dang. Yep. Well, yeah, definitely appreciate you guys being up there and doing what you do.
Yeah, well, we enjoy watching you. Just amazing to watch what you guys do, and the give and take out on the track. It's just a phenomenal thing to sit and watch. And congratulations again on back-to-back wins. Once again, the floor is yours. Who would you like to give a thank you out to?
Really just big shout out there. I mean, me and Steve just had a heck of a battle side by side and, just cat and mouse the entire time. So, he's so hard to be able to take advantage of. So just great job by him. And, he's always tough. But as far as sponsors, of course, got Lucky Finn Project, Evidence Based Mommy, National Kidney Foundation, as well as all the guys over at Falcon Motorsports. And, really just everybody who helps put the show on with NextGen.
Well, congratulations again on another strong run with a win. Hopefully, you can close it out with a couple more just like this. That is Troy Radford, the driver of the number 94, a back-to-back winner, giving him 3 total for the season here. And Troy, good luck down through the stretch here.
All right, thank you.
All right, ladies
Well
and
done.
gentlemen, that is a wrap on week number 24. John, another great night in the booth with you. We went caution-free the second time in a row, and we are back, as you heard, at New Hampshire next week for week number 25. I'm already looking forward to that. You have any final thoughts on the night?
No, just that these guys are amazing, and I tell you, I'm gonna be going through withdrawals when this season ends from not being able to watch these guys. But man, I tell you, this is gonna be a barn burner right on down to the end. I think it's gonna come down to that final race here. So make sure if you watch tonight, come on back next week and see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the track this coming up week, and I'll see you back in the booth next Sunday. As always, thank you very much. For those of you out there who tuned in, greatly appreciate it. Again, we will be back on the air same time next week. Greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in, and until next week, we will see you next time.
This copyrighted broadcast of Extreme eSpeed TV Network is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without express written consent of the Extreme eSpeed TV Network is strictly prohibited. We hope you've enjoyed this broadcast. This copyrighted The following is a special presentation of Extreme eSpeed TV, your new home for everything iRacing